one of the hallmarks of conservation development is that the open space is good land. It's land that's worthy of being preserved, and the developer doesn't just dump all of his wetlands into the open space and then use the high and dry land for development purposes.
This is a circular definition. It says it refers back to 82-103, I go to 82-103. Should I actually go to the original document? Because when I go back to the first page, it doesn't say anything about that.
I'm not sure.
82-103 is just the definitions.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't define land unsuitable for development.
Oh, it does.
Not on this page.
No, you have to go back to the definitions.
You have to go back to section 82-103.
So I have to go back to the original.
Actually, it's in this draft that you have. It's on page 2. It actually starts at the bottom of page 1.
Land unsuitable for development is wetlands, coastal features, flood, high flood zone, high flood danger zone, creek area. So it's defined.
Is there a table 1?
I'm sorry.
Is there a table 1?
Yes. It's the last page. It's out of order.
Oh, I
Because
see.
it's
I had the
horizontal.
same question, yeah. Ah,
Your table one.
yeah.
We probably squeeze it in there, but the format didn't work for me, and I took a shortcut.
Okay, now that I know this.
Table 1 is the last page. And that's lot dimensional requirements. Table 1, if you want to skip to that, it shows the dimensions for single-family dwellings in the R200, 80, and 40 are one set of regulations, and a single-family and 2-household in the R20 is another set of regulations. Remember, the R20 has water and sewer, but the other 3 zones may not. So that's why I wouldn't recommend going down any lower than 20,000 square feet without water and sewer, even though your cluster regulations allow you to go down to 7,500. I don't see how that's going to work with your soils. And even with the high-tech septic systems that you have now.
Are you talking about, which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about table 1, single-family dwellings in the 280 and 40 zoning district.
Okay.
The minimum area of 20,000 square feet. If you think something smaller would work, fine, we can look at it, but I just don't see that happening in Jamestown with your soils. You can still get 20,000 square foot lots and set aside 50% of the land as open space. The math will work. Well, going down to 10,000 square feet, I just wouldn't recommend it.
Well, it's a nice size because it also mimics developments we have outside the town area that are 20,000 square feet. So it's a good size.
Open space at the bottom of page 7, open space, depending on the zone you're in, you need to set aside 70, 60, or 50% of the land suitable for development as open space. And typically 50% is the minimum in all the other communities I've worked with. The only change here, the only difference is when you have an R20, you can have some two-family units. The math still works. You can still have 50% open space because two-family lots are twice as big as the single-family lots. But I've gone through this any number of times, and people don't understand that you can still have your cake and eat it too. You can have density neutral development, the same number of lots, and still set aside 50 to 70% of the land for open space. 50 to 70% of the good land is open space.
What about multifamily
housing, which is covered by Article 10, and has larger lots, lot sizes.
What we did there is, you still get the same number of units. If it's 10 units, you can have 10 single-family lots, 5 duplexes, or 2 5-family condominiums.
So what's the percentage of open space that's preserved if you have the larger lot? Or
It depends on, okay,
I think it's mandated in Article 10 already.
it's in our, yeah.
Yeah. It's already mandated in Article 10 percentages.
there's,
There's open space, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let me look at that one more time.
Because then it would need to be, you'd have the open space from Article 10, but being dictated to by the, being covered by the conservation development process. So yeah, it'd be great if you would look at that.
Let me double check that. I think you might have a point. We should probably add to that table.
Is that what you got there? We don't really have yet.
I may have to put that in the second draft, but just to finish up on page 8, item C. This is where I said there are 4 types of ownership that are allowed. This language is right out of the state law. Okay? I didn't come up with it. It allows you to convey it to either of 4 different types of entity: the town, a nonprofit conservation group, the homeowners association, or a private individual. You can pick and choose among those. You can go with all 4 or with 1 or 2 or 3, but that's really up to you. But this language is permissive as per the state law.
And there's advantages to each.
Items E, D, F, G, H indicate that the open space that's set aside has to be protected by a conservation easement or development restriction that you get to approve. You have to approve the plan of what's on the open space. You have to approve who owns the open space. You have to approve who gets the conservation easement on the open space. And I guess the rest of it is pretty much boilerplate as far as the type, how the wording of the conservation easement is created. That easement and the plan get recorded on land evidence records of the town, so it's a perpetual document that it's a part of the public record, is what I'm trying to say. It's not something that you can see only in the minutes of a meeting. It'll be recorded and enforceable in perpetuity. So that's zoning. And that's what.
Richard, what's that? Any input on this zoning section?
Thank you.
Nancy?
I have a couple things on page 2, and I'm going to have to search to see if in the second paragraph where you're talking about for the purposes of delineating land suitable for development, you say land encompassed by any setback requirements or banks need not be excluded from consideration of developable land. And then I wondered, was that contradicted by 1607, land unsuitable for development? And I will just leave that question because I can't prove my point and just let you look at it. So we don't take extra time here, but would you look at that and see if they're consistent with each other? They're slightly, talking about slightly different things. I had a question about whether, and this applies to this plus subdivision, whether we should also include heritage trees as a unique preservable element. There aren't very many of them on the island, and they would probably have to be defined in some way, but there are heritage trees on the island. It would be great if they could be.
Heritage trees, that's interesting.
We don't have a definition for it, but you're talking here about significant specimens, yeah, and also.
Heritage trees.
But you didn't mention the phrase heritage trees, and these are trees of a certain, certain age.